Hello, everyone. This is Greg Aden with Aden Leadership, and I'm smiling because I have a great guest coming up. Her name is Claudia Barlow, almost 30 years with Accenture, and has now decided to leave. And she is going to become a strategic talent advisor. Stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for my interview with Claudia. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for tuning in for another episode of Servant Leadership Podcast. And today, and it seems like I say this every time I have a guest, you're going to love this one. Claudia comes to me as a referral from someone else I had on my show just a few weeks ago, and Callie said, "You need to interview Claudia." And so here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Claudia Barlow from Austin, Texas, a place near and dear to my heart with Accenture. And I'll just start off by saying almost 30 years, Claudia. Seriously? How do you do that?
Yeah, well, I recently left Accenture after 29 and a half years at the beginning of March. I will say, people always ask, why did you stay that long? Why have you stayed that long? And I will say it's a couple of things. One is the people. That's a common thing of what is it about Accenture that makes it so special? The people
Sure.
make it special. And I have had the honor and opportunity to work with and for some amazing human beings. And that was wonderful. They were had high expectations of themselves and others, and stretched me to grow. And the other thing I would say is the opportunity to grow and reinvent myself. I didn't feel like I was doing the same thing, and I wasn't doing the same thing for 30 years by any means. And
Right.
I moved out of consulting after about 8 years into human resources, and about all I knew about human resources was how to spell it. And the fact that Accenture was willing to give me an opportunity to completely retool myself and pivot into a different type of career, knowing that I could learn it, and then I just continued to do that throughout the next 20 years in HR. Both of those things just, it made sense. And so when I left Accenture in March, it was not my choice. My role was eliminated. So that was I wouldn't have ever done it, but I believe things work out the way that they are supposed to. Now I'm taking some time to figure out what I'm going to do next. And that next is launching a strategic advisory company doing coaching and consulting.
Beautiful. Well, you're certainly well briefed in everything that you need to be successful in your next journey. And before you said it, when I was reading up on you, you said one of my favorite words, reinvent. And you said you reinvented yourself multiple times over 3 decades while you were at Accenture. And I just like to dive into that because not everybody does. I don't believe in the why as to why you did something. I'm always asking why as to why is this important to you?
Mm.
And clearly you decided, and it was. But to reinvent yourself 3 times at least, I'd like for you to just share with the audience, what does that mean to you? And as you begin to, and you have been coaching people inside a company for a long time, what advice would you give to adults who are wondering, am I stuck? And how do I reinvent myself? What what advice would you give us?
Yeah. Well, I'll just start a little bit with my journey. I mean, my father was 51 when I was born. So he was born in 1918. So Sunday would have been his 105th birthday.
Wow.
And he had a really interesting life. He was a pilot in World War II. He was a rancher. He was a farmer. He was a county judge. He was a real estate broker. He worked in a bank. Then he ended up doing property management in Texas and in Mexico for farms and ranches and other holdings. And
Mm.
so I had this great example of reinvention, right? That you do a lot
Sure.
of different things. And one of the best lessons he ever taught me was, as I was thinking about my education. So I went to UT in a liberal arts honors program called Plan 2, which was a wonderful liberal arts education. Yet I felt like at 22 I had little practical skills. And I also had no idea what I wanted to do with my life,
Sure.
which is completely normal, but very scary at that age.
Yeah.
So I did what one does. I went to grad school, and put off the decision for a while. But then I
Right.
was trying to decide what kind of a, education, graduate education do I get? A lot of people said I'd go to law school, but I knew I didn't want to be a lawyer. I'd been working in state government all through my undergraduate uh, career. And so getting a master's in public administration was an obvious choice, but that felt kind of narrow and I wasn't sure I wanted to do that. And so
Sure.
my father said, you ought to focus on something where you're building skills. He didn't use the term, but what he would have said in today's vernacular would transferable skills,
Sure.
right? Learn how to write, learn how to speak, learn how to think, and those are skills you can apply to anything. And so that has served me very well. And I believe it serves anyone very well. Not only as we kind of look back historically over the past decades or century, I believe that is true. But as the world continues to change so rapidly,
Yeah.
there are jobs like a prompt engineer. My heavens, like who ever heard of that 6 months ago? Probably not
Right.
very many people. I certainly hadn't. There
No.
are jobs that are coming up, careers that one never could have imagined. And I believe that those foundational skills like teamwork, creativity, innovation, strategic thinking, good execution skills, communication, leadership, those are the skills you can build the craft skills
Yeah.
more or less easily, but those foundational skills just really enable you to be able to pivot either because you need to or because you want to.
Yeah. So you've got 100 people in front of you. They're men and women, and they're 22 to 25. They've graduated college. They're not sure about grad school, and they came to you for leadership advice. They came to you how to be a better human being relative to leadership. What say you to this group of curious minds?
Well, I think it's unnecessary to know what you want to do with the rest of your life at 22. Some people do, and that's wonderful. And maybe that will be the path they follow. Some people don't know. I would say take the first step. It is feels so daunting, and I know for younger people, it feels like you have to have your whole life planned out. Because they people have been asking you what you're going to do with your life since you were 14 years old. Where are you going to go to college? What are you going to major in? What are you going to do when you get out of college? And it is unnecessary to have it all mapped out. I think it's great to have a view of what you want to do if it's clear to you. And I think it's also okay if you don't know exactly what you want to do to at least know what you like to do and what you maybe have tried and definitely don't want to do again. But I would say, regardless, be open.
Yeah.
I never could have imagined not only what I've been able to do, but the leadership levels I've been able to attain. And it's just happened organically. I didn't have, I've never really had a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. You just continue to do good work, think about ways to plant seeds that are going to help you position you for whatever's next, whether you know what it is or isn't, because your network and your reputation and brand are going to be really critical. So I would say, don't feel quite so paralyzed by the need to make the perfect next step. You take a step
Yeah.
and you learn something from it. Maybe you take another step on the same path. Maybe you move off to the side. Maybe you make a U-turn and go back and start over again. And that's all fine.
Yeah.
But I would say focus on finding a place that is interested in investing in you,
Sure.
cares about you, and helping you build a career.
So Claudia 22 is certainly different than Claudia, and not needing to say your age, we'll just do the math.
53, I'll say it.
Okay, beautiful. You, I'm going to assume then through that 29-year career and even in grad school, you had mentors, people
Yeah.
that came into your life for the right reasons and some for the wrong reasons that you had to dismiss. But tell us a little bit about your valuable mentors and who he or she was, and how did they show up in your life, whether right on time or not right on time. But
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about mentorship, because I believe that what you're embarking on now as a coach, as a mentor, as a leader for other human beings to grow. Mentors come into our life and they either coach us or correct us or love us or guide us. But tell us a little bit about your experiences with them. And again, pretend that that young audience is listening to, all right, how can I be more aware of when this jewel comes into my life?
Yeah, I've been very lucky, and I think I have taken it for granted that there are a lot of great leaders out there because I have had a lot of great leaders. I can only think of one person who was kind of a meh, a disappointment. But
Sure.
and it wasn't completely awful. I mean, there were just some disappointing things, but
Right.
I have had been surrounded by just amazing leaders who have believed in me, who have mentored me, who have given me opportunities that I didn't think I was ready for, and who have been sponsors for me. And so, I was in a seminar a couple weeks ago, and there were 15 of us, and several people were talking about how they were wanting to be better leaders than they'd had, and it seemed that their experience was primarily with unsatisfactory leadership. And I was, like I
Sure.
said, I realized I just have taken that for granted because I have had, by and large, very great mentors, and those have primarily been supervisors. So I spent most of my career in HR, so either through the HR line of leadership or the business that I was supporting those business
Yeah.
leaders. And I posted recently a Stephen Covey quote about leaders recognizing the potential in people even when they didn't see it themselves. And I think that that has certainly been true for me. There have been times when I didn't think I could do something, but they believed in me and gave me an opportunity to do it. And that gave me confidence that I could, continue to stretch myself and grow.
Yeah, I saw that post and commented on myself. I couldn't help it because just yesterday I had a meeting with a client of mine out for a year and a half. And their conversation started with, I struggle with compliments. I struggle when someone says, "Hey," I'll just call him Tony. "Hey, Tony, you're doing a fantastic job." And he didn't have it growing up. He didn't have it as a man. He didn't have it as a spouse now, and he gets it from his kids, and but never from coaches and other leaders. And in the environment that he's in, it's not cultural cool to say, "Wow, what a great job you did." But when he does, he almost thinks he knows he's worthy. He knows he's doing a great job, but it's awkward. And I believe, I should say, that when we believe in other people, they can do even greater things. So I appreciate you reposting that chat.
And I
Something.
think that the recognition, when you're recognizing someone, it is easy to brush off, "Gosh, you were great," right? And that sounds like it's vague and, it's lovely, but it's still unspecific. And so being specific sometimes can help people really understand why, what you saw in them. I really
Yeah.
loved the poise with which you handled that really difficult conversation. I loved the way that you clearly and concisely summarized what you heard in that conversation, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Those are the specifics that can help someone, I think, really internalize what they're doing that resonated with others.
Yeah, some detail in your praise, and your detail in the giving someone positive feedback. And my research says that the easiest thing to do when you are given positive feedback is to simply say thank you, and don't deflect, and don't act like you don't deserve it, and don't act like you're not worthy, because the person might walk away and say, "Wonder what's wrong with Claudia. She didn't seem like she understood that she did a great job. Is there something about her that I miss?" Don't That's not even true. So don't give them an opportunity to think so. So mentors in your life that you say you've had really good leaders, and some of us say they haven't. And when you come across someone that just doesn't get you, and you love what you do but they don't love what you do,
Mm.
what might you say to them to make sure that this relationship's going to last? Because as a powerful woman, and I'm sure communicates very well at all levels, you may have had some difficult or courageous conversations with people at your level, below your level, or above you. But what do you say to the leader who just doesn't get you? and they're almost getting in your way. Or maybe you haven't experienced that yourself, but maybe there's been a colleague or two that's come to you for some help in that area.
Yeah, I think first you have to really figure out, is that actually true, or is that
Hmm.
your own inferiority complex speaking? Because sometimes that's true.
Yeah,
That you feel like, oh, that person hates me. Like, and oftentimes it's just their style, or it may not be that they
sure.
don't get you at all. It may just be a miscommunication or your own insecurities talking. So I think first, really understanding that, and I think always the more you can have transparent conversations, and you don't have to say, Greg, I'm getting the sense you don't really like me very much. Is that true? I mean, you don't have to say that, but just you can have a conversation about expectations. How do you feel? Like, we've been working together for 6 weeks now. I feel like we've done these things well, and here are some opportunities I see for us to better work together. What are you seeing that we can do
Mm.
to make a more effective team or partnership? And open it up.
Yeah, and you bring up a beautiful opportunity for people to be authentically curious about the other person, and not making it all about me. You said, how can we work better together? And again, that came up in the conference this past weekend, where I believed about a year ago that curiosity is not just a behavior, it's a skill. It's a
Mhm.
skill in leadership, it's a skill in parenting, it's a skill in relationship building, and frankly, I believe it's a skill in trust building too. And tell me your relationship with being curious, being playful, being having fun, and all well knowing that this is the reason some of these relationships are so meaningful to you.
I think that relationships where you can have fun, even in painful times, difficult situations, is magical.
Yeah.
When you can have that, and sometimes it feels like that's the only thing that's keeping you going. Right? Is the knowing that you've got the chemistry and synergy, and care for one another, despite the difficult road that you're having to walk together. I agree about curiosity, and it makes me think about the skill of listening,
Hmm.
and really being curious as you're listening to people and asking questions that demonstrate that curiosity. And the only way that one can truly be curious is if one has a certain amount of humility,
Yeah.
and knowing that they don't always have all the answers. They don't always know the solution. They don't always know what you're thinking or what your motivations are. And so only by probing and asking good questions, and truly trying to seek to understand, are you able to do that.
Tell me about what you believe is your most important title that you've held. And you said it in your notes, and I read it to you earlier. You said the two greatest accomplishments of my life have been being a mother. And you
That's right.
mentioned Bailey and Jack, and then we learned on off air that they're actually twins. Tell us about what it's like to be a parent, and some of the places you've struggled, and some of the places that you know as a human being that you've excelled. Because I my audience is always curious about the connection between leadership and parenting, and I'll go to my grave saying there's no difference. It's just who what you're wearing and what you're saying, perhaps, but it's the same behaviors.
Mm.
Tell us about your beautiful jet journey being a leader and a parent and a mom for Bailey and Jack.
Yeah. I have always known I was going to be a mother one way or another, and our path turned out to be a fairly difficult one. I struggled with infertility, and so we went through a variety of treatments and had an early stage miscarriage before I got pregnant with Jack and Bailey. So it was both an amazing, exciting time, and a scary time too, because I had
Sure.
experienced loss, and it was probably 6 months along before I could allow myself to really start planning concretely of buying things and things like that. So, but it was so wonderful when they were born, and we were. I was so grateful to be able to have the time with them. And just as a side, my husband was a stay-at-home dad. They're 22 now, so he's retired. But he was a
Hmm.
stay-at-home dad, and I work primarily from home. So we were very lucky to be able to have such focused time together as a family. And it was hard. Twins are hard. I don't know. We don't know any
Imagine.
different. So we didn't have anything to compare it to. But the first couple of years were, all hands on deck and a lot of learning. I would walk the exact same path again if I had the opportunity to start over again. I love the fact that Jack and Bailey are just such unique, fabulous human beings. They are very, very different. Jack is very, very STEM oriented. Bailey's very good at STEM. It's just not her passion. And Jack was clearly going to be an engineer when he was 3 and got his first Lego set. And he
Good.
is about to start at MIT in the fall in a graduate student program, doctoral program in nuclear engineering. So
God bless him.
that has been a very, very clear path for him, and he's going to go off and do great things. And Bailey is creative. She is very detail oriented, can organize the heck out of anything. She also is about to graduate with degrees in Spanish and French with minors in business and anthropology. So she has a
Beautiful.
lot of opportunities to use those. And so just seeing, nature versus nurture, right, is
Yeah.
a big debate, and seeing two kids raised at the exact same time by the exact same parents, that's a lot of nature. There's minimal nurture is important, but I have been saying recently that really as a parent, you got three jobs. One is to identify their potential
Hmm.
and do everything in your power to allow them to maximize that potential, give them a firm foundation, morally, spiritually, whatever you want to call it, and then try not to screw them up too bad.
Yeah.
It's
Get out of the
those are kind
way.
of the key things, and that probably does work pretty well in your parallel to leadership in the business world.
Absolutely. And let's give your partner in crime a name. What's your husband's name?
Paul,
Paul, if you're listening, thank you. Thank you for being a man. Thank you for being a strong human being and saying, you know what? My job right now is to help these little ones get to where they're supposed to get. And there's not a lot of people that would do that. And I'm not saying because you're a man or because you're a woman, but to have the conversation and the trust in one another to say, I've got this. You go do what you do, and I'll take care of the little ones. Can't wait to meet this guy. He sounds
yeah,
like my kind of a person. As I mentioned off air, um, I had a I had a son that was born 6 months after we brought Jack, home from Russia, and so we had, what is that, 7 months, too. So I'm not saying I understand what it's like to first of all struggle. Your struggles are not lost on me, and God bless
yeah.
you for keeping trying or keep trying. But I do know what a double decker stroller exercise is, and two in diapers, so to speak. But it makes us stronger,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it does. And I love your comment about your first purpose of parenting is to recognize recognize their potential.
yeah.
And a lot of us don't. A lot of us, I believe, as leaders and as parents, we want them to be just like us, and that's not always going to be good enough. And even if it is, whose idea is it? They need to dream. They need to follow their own dreams. And back to your conversation with the 22-year-olds that were pretending to be in front of us, just take the first step and have a view of where you want to go. And I believe if we're leaders and we're parents and we're watching them grow, we can help them grow to a certain area without getting in their way. And then they get to the end and they say, I did this. Wait a minute. I did have some help, but for the most part, I got here by myself. And I believe, and you can call me crazy, one of our most important traits and reasons of being parents is to make sure that we are preparing them for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Preparing them for tomorrow. And it's the same thing as a leader. We're preparing you to do what you can even better tomorrow. And we hope you stay with the same organization. But God bless you if you take these skills you learned here and go somewhere else. But um,
That is so true, and I think that what you just said about recognizing that sometimes you may be developing leaders who will go somewhere else. It could be a different team, it could be a different organization, and that is okay.
yeah,
It's hard,
yeah,
especially if you've invested in people. It's hard if you really rely on them. But that is one of the things that I personally have taken a great deal of pride in, as I say, being an exporter of top talent, right?
Sure.
And that sometimes that happens. You can't give them the opportunity that they need when they're ready for it, and you can't expect them to wait around until something opens up, right? And so
No.
do what you can to position them, and then you get a lot of loyalty for the future.
Well, and back to your use of humility, if you as a leader develop someone and they end up leaving you and all you can think about is you, were you really authentic with the humility that you had for them in the first place? And
Mhm.
my sarcastic answer is no. You probably weren't, and it's not about you leaders, but it does start with you. And and I love what you said. Their loyalty may come back. They may come back when you are in need of a big client and now they're a team that needs some expertise in your area, Claudia, and Steve or Bob or Erica or Julie call you and say, "I'd like for you to work with us. I'd like for
Mhm.
you to guide my team." And that comes back in spades. And I'll tell you, it's happened for me in the last 9.5 years. People come out of the woodwork when they see you've been successful or they see that you are in need of something. But close us up here, Claudia. What's one thing you'd like to leave our listeners about when you think of how you were growing and how you were becoming a better human being, a better woman, a better leader? What were some of the things that you will take to your end of year and know that these were the key things that helped you become who you are today?
Well, I think it is really caring um, about people that you're working with, that you're working for, that you're serving, and truly being curious about
Yeah,
them and what how you can help them. I mean, something that's very important to me is making a difference, leaving things better off than you left them. I was looking at some of your other podcasts, and you talked about the tombstone concept, right? I mean,
sure.
that's what I'd like to have on my tombstone is she made a difference,
Mm,
and so, if you are looking for opportunities to make a difference, whether that's at the individual level, the organizational level, I think, regardless of what industry that's in, what role that's in, you're gonna be successful.
yeah. Thank you for that. And so I'll just reflect back, be caring, be curious, make a difference, and leave it better than you found it. And those are big suggestions. And it takes intention. And I'm working with one of my favorite clients, my 11, soon to be 12-year-old, and we're helping him with the school with graduating from the School of Humility, and we realize he's just walking through the first door, and it's something that is going to be challenging but very rewarding for me. And we're telling him every day, be careful, be curious about what other people are coming from, and it's not about you. It's not about being the cool kid. It's about being the kind kid. But it's hard to tell someone that when everyone is all about themselves.
That's true.
As we carry our phones around and walk across the street, we don't even look because I'm important. I'm on my phone and no one's going to hit me. That's a whole nother topic. But again, thank you, Claudia Barlow. And so are you starting your organization? Obviously you've already started it. Does it have a name yet?
Doesn't have a name yet. So
Okay.
stay tuned. Stay
Stay
tuned. I have
tuned.
some ideas that are percolating. So May is focused on my family. We've got the two graduations over the next couple of weeks, and then a family trip in the second half of the year, or second half of the month, to celebrate the graduations of my husband's and
Beautiful.
my 30th anniversary. And when I come back, I'll be hitting the ground running.
Great. Well, again, Paul, thank you for being so helpful in the development of the two most important accomplishments, I'm sure, in your life too. And Claudia, thank you. Thank you for taking some time this day and sharing what it is that you know is important about just being a better person and a better woman and better leader. Thank you very much.
It was great to talk to you, Greg.
Thank you for listening again. This is Greg Aden with Aden Leadership. You can find us at adenleadership.com. We have our own YouTube channel, Aden Leadership. Check out the videos. Remember to be caring, curious, make a difference in life, and leave everything you do in a better shape. God bless and thank you. Goodbye.